as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the dense woods. Little Red Riding Hood tightened her grip on the basket she carried. The aroma of fresh bread and sweet butter wafted upward, teasing her senses and reminding her of the warm embrace of her grandmother, waiting eagerly at the end of the path. Each step on the winding trail seemed to echo with the whispers of the tall trees, rustling their leaves like an audience awaiting the next act in a grand tale. But as she ventured deeper into the forest, a chilling breeze stirred, rustling through the underbrush and setting her heart racing. The stories she had heard from her mother about the cunning wolf surfaced in her mind, tales woven with threads of warning and awe. Little Red Riding Hood shivered, her bright cloak a reminder of the light she carried against the darkness of the woods. She remembered the lesson her mother had taught her, to stay on the path and never to linger. Yet the allure of the forest, with its secrets and shadows, tugged at her curiosity. Suddenly, a low growl reverberated through the air, chilling her to the bone. She froze, the basket slipping momentarily from her fingers. Ouchi evidi! Shadows emerged, the wolf a creature of grandeur and menace, his fur a tapestry of deep grays and blacks, eyes gleaming with intelligence and something far more treacherous. "Ah, Little Red Riding Hood," he crooned, his voice smooth like honey yet laced with malice. "What brings you to these woods? All alone?" Alone. Gathering her courage, she raised her chin, determined not to let fear betray her. "I am simply on my way to visit my grandmother. She is unwell, and I bring her some food." Her voice trembled slightly, but she clung to the truth, which felt like armor against the wolf's hypnotic gaze. The wolf's lips curled into a sly grin, revealing sharp teeth that gleamed in the fading light. A noble quest, indeed. But why tread such a path when there are shortcuts that lead to joy and adventure? He gestured with a sweep of his paw, indicating a darker, more treacherous way through the woods. "Follow me, dear child. I know a way that would make your journey far more delightful." Little Red Riding Hood hesitated, the weight of her mother's warnings heavy on her heart. "I appreciate your kindness, Mr. Wolf," she replied carefully, "but I must stick to the path. Grandmother is counting on me." The wolf's expression darkened slightly at her refusal, but he quickly masked it with feigned understanding. Of course! Of course! After all, a good granddaughter should be obedient. But remember, my dear, sometimes the most beautiful things lie just beyond the well-trodden paths." With that, he stepped back into the shadows, letting the evening twilight cloak him in mystery. With a final glance over her shoulder, Little Red Riding Hood quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest. The warning of the wolf echoed in her mind, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The trees stretched overhead like ancient guardians, their gnarled branches twisting against the sky, while the path before her narrowed, darkening as she pressed on. As she walked, her thoughts wandered back to the stories of her childhood, the brave knights, the clever maidens, and the enchanted creatures that roamed the land. Each tale had its heroes and villains, its lessons carved into the very fabric of their existence. Yet, here she was, caught in a story of her own, unsure of how it would unfold. In the distance, a rustling caught her attention. She stopped suddenly, her breath catching in her throat. Was it the wolf returning? Or perhaps something even more sinister lurking in the gloom? From behind a thicket, a small figure emerged, a bunny, its fur a soft shade of cream, wide eyes shimmering in the fading light. Little Red Riding Hood exhaled, a smile breaking through her worries. "Hello there, little one," she whispered. "Kneeling do. What are you doing out here, all alone?" The bunny twitched its nose and hopped closer, as if sensing her gentle spirit. In that moment, the world around her lightened, and for a fleeting heartbeat, the weight of the forest's shadows faded. But as she reached out to stroke its soft fur, a sudden rustle erupted from behind the trees, and the air grew thick with tension. The bunny darted away, and Little Red Riding Hood's heart raced anew. This was no fairy tale. This was reality, and the forest held secrets she was yet to uncover. Mustering her courage once more, she rose and pressed onward, vowing to trust her instincts. The path twisted before her, and ahead, The silhouette of a cabin peeked through the trees, a beacon of hope or a mirage of danger. She could not yet tell. What awaited her beyond the threshold of her grandmother's home? Only time would reveal the answer, and within the heart of the woods, the night was still young, filled with the promise of enchantment and peril. As she approached the cabin, each step felt heavier, the wooden structure leaning slightly to one side as if burdened by untold stories. The shutters hung ajar, creaking softly in the gentle breeze that whispered through the trees. Little Red Riding Hood could almost hear the echoes of laughter that once filled the air, mingling with the scent of freshly baked bread and the warmth of her grandmother's embrace. But now, the place seemed shrouded in a silence that felt both inviting and ominous. With a deep breath, she pushed the door open, the hinges protesting with a long, mournful creak. Inside, shadows danced across the walls, and the dim light from a flickering candle illuminated the space. Just enough for her to make out familiar shapes: the worn armchair by the hearth, the old quilt draped over the back, and the small table set for tea. But the aroma of her grandmother's cooking was absent, replaced by a faint mustiness that hinted at neglect. "Grandmother, Little Red Riding Hood," called out, her voice trembling slightly. The silence that followed was so profound that she could hear her own heartbeat echoing in her ears. She stepped further inside, the threshold feeling like a boundary between two worlds, the one filled with loving memories and the other steeped in uncertainty. A creak from the floor above made her jump, and instinctively she looked toward the staircase that spiraled into darkness. "Grandmother, are you up there?" she called again, more forcefully this time, although doubt began to creep into her heart. Then, from the corner of her eye, something shifted, a shadow among shadows. Little Red Riding Hood turned quickly, her gaze landing on a small, ornate mirror hanging crookedly on the wall. Her heart raced as she noticed the reflection wasn't quite right. Instead of her own wide-eyed face, she saw a fleeting glimpse of a figure, cloaked and shrouded in darkness, lurking just beyond her sight. Without thinking, she edged closer, her curiosity piquing despite the warning bells ringing in her mind. The figure in the mirror seemed to beckon her, an ethereal glow surrounding it. Just as she was about to reach out, a loud thump resounded from above, sending shivers racing down her spine. "Grandmother," she shouted, her voice quaking with urgency as she rushed toward the staircase. Each step creaked beneath her weight, and with every move she made, the air grew thicker, heavy with the anticipation of something unknown. As she emerged on the second floor, the shadows deepened, and the atmosphere thickened, casting a pall over the narrow hallway. Little Red Riding Hood felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end as she approached her grandmother's room. The door was slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness lurking beyond, and the flutter of her heart echoed loudly in her ears. "Grandmother, I'm here," she called out, but the silence was suffocating. Gathering her resolve, she pushed the door open gently, ready to confront whatever lay within. The room was dimly lit, the candle flickering weakly on the bedside table. The bed was unkempt, the sheets twisted into a nest of confusion, and there lay her grandmother, though something was terribly amiss. Little Red Riding Hood's heart dropped as she saw the figure beneath the covers, the face obscured by the shadows. "Grandmother," she whispered, stepping closer, the weight of dread pulling her down. As she reached the bed, she could feel the chill in the air intensifying, wrapping around her like a cold embrace. "Is that you, my dear?" A weak voice croaked from under the covers, raspy and filled with an unnatural tremor. Relief surged through her momentarily, but the unease returned when she caught a glimpse of the figure's hand reaching from the shadows, pale and trembling. "Yes, it's me. I brought your favorite treats," Little Red Riding Hood replied, attempting to mask her unease with a bright smile, though her heart raced. "You feeling all right?" "Just a little tired, my dear." "Come closer." The voice beckoned, and as Little Red Riding Hood took a step forward, something stirred in the depths of the shadowed room, catching her attention. In the corner, a dark shape began to emerge, creeping silently, and just as she turned to face it, The candles flickered violently, casting grotesque shadows that danced along the walls. She froze, her instincts screaming that something was terribly wrong. The spectral figure in the corner coiled tighter, revealing eyes that glinted with malice, and she realized the shadows were not merely a trick of the light. Run, my dear. It's not what it seems. Her grandmother's voice suddenly pierced the tension, rising above the chaos. Little Red Riding Hood didn't hesitate. She spun on her heels and dashed back down the stairs, the haunting laughter of the shadows echoing behind her as she fled into the darkened woods beyond the cabin, her heart thundering with the certainty that the true adventure had only just begun. The moon hung high in the sky, a guardian of secrets that glimmered in the rustling leaves. Little Red Riding Hood burst through the underbrush, her breath coming in quick, shallow bursts. The cool night air enveloped her, yet it offered little comfort against the icy fear gnawing her stomach. She could hear the ominous whispers of the forest, the creaking of branches echoing like the murmurs of ancient spirits. Think, Little Red, she muttered to herself, her heart racing as she stumbled forward. What should I do? As if in response to her desperation, the trees began to sway, their forms twisting and contorting in the dim light. Deeper into the woods, a distant howl pierced the silence, sending shivers down her spine. It was a sound that spoke of danger, a reminder that she was not alone in the darkness. Just as her legs began to tire, she spotted a faint glow ahead, flickering like a distant star. Hope ignited within her, urging her to push forward. As she drew nearer, the glow transformed into a small clearing, illuminated by a peculiar fire that danced with colors she'd never seen before, blues, purples, and greens entwined like ribbons of light. In the center of the clearing stood a figure cloaked in mist, their face hidden beneath a hood of shimmering fabric. Ah, sweet child of the woods, the figure sang, their voice, smooth and melodic, drawing Little Red Riding Hood closer. What brings you to my realm on such a fateful night? Please, I need help. Little Red Riding Hood gasped, the words tumbling out like a desperate plea. I think my grandmother is in danger. Something is not right. The figure tilted their heads slightly, and for a moment the mist around them shimmered like 1,000 tiny stars. Danger, you say? The woods are full of secrets, and the shadows do not always speak the truth, they replied, their voice like the rustling of leaves. But tell me, what do you truly seek? I want to save her, she cried, her courage igniting like a flame. I want to bring her back, whatever it takes. The figure regarded her with an intensity that sent a thrill through her. To save her, you must be willing to embrace the unknown. Many paths lie ahead, but beware, each choice carries a price. With a wave of their hand, a path unfurled from the clearing, winding toward the heart of the forest. Without hesitation, Little Red Riding Hood stepped onto the path. I'll do it, she declared, her voice steady, though her heart trembled with uncertainty. As she walked, the colors of the fire faded into the deep shadows of the forest, leaving behind a trail of sparkling light that faded into the dark. The air thickened around her, every rustle of the leaves and snap of a twig echoing ominously. She ventured deeper, each step laden with trepidation. Suddenly, a growl erupted from the shadows, thick and guttural. Out sprang a creature, wolf, larger than any she had ever seen, fur glistening with an otherworldly sheen. Its eyes bore into her, predatory and calculating. Why do you wander in my domain, little girl? It snarled, the menace dripping from its words. I'm not afraid of you, she shouted, though her voice quivered. I have to find my grandmother. The wolf cocked its head, a slow grin spreading across its face. Ah, the sweet elderly lady, a fine meal she would make. Little Red Riding Hood's heart raced. You won't touch her, she protested, summoning every ounce of courage within her. If you harm her, you'll have to deal with me. The wolf chuckled darkly, a sound that sent chills racing down her spine. Very well, brave girl, let us play a game, it proposed, the smile widening in a way that felt almost cruel. If you can outsmart me, I will let you pass, but if you lose, your fate will be sealed. Just tell me the rules, she demanded, unwilling to back down. The wolf leaned closer, the air thick with an earthy scent mixed with danger. You will answer my riddle, and I shall grant you a chance. But beware, there are whispers in the night, and not all are as they seem. With a flick of its tail, it began, what walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Little Red Riding Hood's mind raced, the answer bubbling up from the depths of her thoughts. As she searched her memory, the shadows around her seemed to thicken, the weight of the forest pressing down on her. This riddle was the key, and its outcome would determine the course of her very fate. Little Red Riding Hood closed her eyes for a fleeting moment, envisioning her grandmother's sunlit cottage nestled in a clearing, filled with the comforting aroma of freshly baked bread and the sound of her gentle laughter. That thought grounded her, infusing her with a spark of determination. The answer is a human, she exclaimed, confidence surging through her veins like a warm current. The wolf's smile faltered for a mere heartbeat, before it returned, wider and more sinister than before. Clever, clever girl, it admitted, masking its displeasure. But do not be too hasty to celebrate. There is another challenge waiting. The shadows around them twitched, and the air grew colder. You must find your way to your grandmother's house, the wolf continued, its voice silky yet laced with an edge. But beware, I will take the quicker path to her cottage. In this race, you must use your wits, for the forest is filled with enchantments that can mislead even the most astute traveler. With that, the wolf vanished into the foliage, leaving Little Red Riding Hood alone in the thickening dusk. Her heart pounded, but she remembered her purpose. Taking a deep breath, she steadied herself and stepped forward, focusing on the sounds of the forest, tuning her ears to the whispers of the wind as it curled through the branches. Above, stepping lightly, she recalled the tales her grandmother had told her. Listen to the forest, she whispered to herself. It will guide you. Following a narrow path, she started to hum a melody she had learned long ago, a song of courage and hope that seemed to resonate with the very fabric of the woods around her. Yet the forest was a trickster. Just as she felt a sense of clarity, a low fog began to creep in, wrapping around her like a shroud. Suddenly, a soft voice, almost musical, floated through the air, pulling her off course. Come and follow me, sweet child, for I know the way. I'll lead you swiftly to your grandmother. You need not stray. Distrust flickered in Little Red Riding Hood's heart as she halted her steps. Who are you? She called into the mist, seeking the source of the voice. Emerging from the gray haze was a delicate figure, a shimmering sprite with wings that caught the dim light like glistening dew. I am the guardian of the woods, the sprite declared, rolling her eyes. The wolf is a liar, and his path is fraught with danger. Trust in me, and I'll lead you safely. The little girl's instinct urged caution, but the wolf said to beware of whispers, she replied, her voice stronger than before. How do I know you are not another trick? The sprite pouted, revealing a hint of impatience. Why, dear girl, are you not intrigued by a little magic? I can show you wonders beyond your imagination. Think of your grandmother, with her warm smile and kind eyes. Would you not wish to see her soon? Little Red Riding Hood hesitated, her mind racing. The urgency of her grandmother's safety clashed with the murmurings of caution. Then, with a determined nod, she spoke firmly. I will not follow you blindly. I must trust my heart, for it knows the way even when my eyes cannot see. The sprite's expression darkened, and the air thickened as she flitted back into the shadows, her laughter echoing eerily around Little Red Riding Hood. Very well, child, but the forest has its own ways, and you may not like the paths it carves for you. With resolve, she continued, trusting the pull of her memories to guide her as she navigated through the winding trails, her footsteps firm against the soft earth. The looming trees stood witness to her courage, their gnarled branches reaching like ancient hands, offering encouragement in the twilight. As she pressed on, the darkness deepened, and silence engulfed her, amplifying her every heartbeat. It was then that a rustle quivered in the underbrush, and a pair of golden eyes glinted in the shadows. A figure stepped forth, its form catlike and sleek, with fur that sparkled like starlight. Who dares traverse my realm? The creature challenged, its voice smooth and alluring. I am the keeper of secrets, and those who wish to pass must reveal their deepest truth. Speak, young girl, or remain lost in this forest forever. Little Red Riding Hood stood her ground, a fire igniting within her. Here was another challenge, another test to prove her mettle. She took a breath, the courage of her heart enveloping her. I seek my grandmother, and I will not turn back until I find her, she declared, conviction lacing her tone. The keeper's eyes narrowed, intrigued. Ah, worthy quest, indeed. But remember, truths may come at a price. What will you sacrifice to save her? In that moment, as the shadows danced around her, Little Red Riding Hood understood the weight of her journey. She was not just a girl in a red cloak anymore. She was a warrior, a beacon of hope and love, ready to face whatever darkness lay ahead. And with that realization, she stepped forward into the unknown, ready to confront the secrets of the forest and the horrors that lurked within it, determined to save her beloved grandmother from the clutches of the wolf. The keeper of secrets regarded her with a mixture of admiration and caution. Ah, the fires of determination burn bright within you. But be wary, brave child, for the forest is not merely a collection of trees and shadows. It is alive, breathing, and watching. Your every step may stir the spirits that dwell within its depths. As if punctuating the keeper's warning, a chilling breeze swept through the clearing, sending leaves twirling like fairies in a dance of uncertainty. Little Red Riding Hood's heart raced, but she squared her shoulders, knowing that fear could not extinguish her resolve. I have come too far to turn back now. Whatever trials await me, I will face them. Then let the journey unfold, the keeper murmured, the air around them shimmering with enchantment as it parted like a curtain. But remember, dear child, every choice you make echoes through time, and you must be prepared to listen to what those echoes reveal. With a graceful sweep of its paw, the keeper gestured towards a winding path that had not been visible before. It twisted deeper into the heart of the forest, where shadows coiled like serpents and the scent of earth mingled with something sweet and intoxicating. Follow this route, but heed my words. There will be whispers that tempt you, and sights that dazzle your eyes. Do not be lured by their charm. Keep your thoughts focused on your grandmother, for it is her love that lights your way. With a nod of gratitude, Little Red Riding Hood stepped onto the new path, each footfall a promise made to herself and to her grandmother. The canopy thickened above her, casting a mosaic of shadows against the forest floor, and with each stride, the world seemed to shift and sway. As she ventured deeper, the whispers began, soft and melodic. At first, they curled around her, weaving tales of joy and longing. Come closer, child, they sang, and you shall find treasures untold. Riches beyond your wildest dreams await those who dare to embrace their fate. Little Red Riding Hood paused, a flicker of temptation dancing across her thoughts. But the keeper's warning echoed in her mind, a distant bell tolling the price of indulgence. No, she whispered to herself, shaking her head. I seek not wealth, but love. The forest responded to her declaration with a low rumble, as if it, too, acknowledged her steadfast heart. Yet the allure of the whispers began to shift. Darker tones infiltrated the sweetness, threading hints of fear and despair into their melody. What if she is lost forever? They taunted. What if you are too late? Little Red Riding Hood pressed on, determined to silence the doubts that clawed at her resolve. But with each step, the path twisted and turned, disorienting her, the trees morphing into grotesque shapes, their gnarled roots reaching out like greedy hands. In the midst of this, a flicker of color caught her eye, a patch of wild flowers blooming defiantly in the gloom. Drawn to their vibrancy, she knelt beside them, the petals delicate against her fingertips. In that moment she felt a pulse of life, a reminder of the beauty that existed even in darkness. As she inhaled their sweet fragrance, memories of her grandmother flooded her mind, the warmth of her embrace, the stories shared on stormy nights, the laughter that echoed through their small home. It was love that guided her, not just for her grandmother, but for the life they had woven together in the tapestry of their shared days. With newfound strength, She rose to her feet. I will not be swayed by fear or temptation. I am here for my grandmother, and I will find her. Just then, a rustling in the underbrush drew her attention. From behind a thick bramble, a figure emerged, a small, ragged creature, its fur matted and its eyes wide with fear. "Help me!" it squeaked, voice trembling. "I am lost, and the forest is hungry for those who stray too far from the path." Little Red Riding Hood felt a surge of compassion, her heart swelling for the little being caught in the throes of darkness. "What happened?" she asked softly, kneeling down to meet its gaze. "The shadows claimed my friends," the creature whimpered. "One by one, they were swallowed whole. I am the last of my kin, and I fear I will meet the same fate," in its terrified eyes. Little Red Riding Hood recognized a reflection of her own journey, one defined by love and the fight against the encroaching shadows. "You are safe now," she assured it. "I will not abandon you. Together, we will find our way." And as they stood united in the thickening twilight, the forest seemed to hold its breath, as if the very essence of their determination wove a shield against the gathering darkness. They turned to face the path ahead, ready to confront whatever lay in wait, a girl in a red cloak, and a lost creature bound by a shared purpose. Hand in paw, they ventured deeper into the forest, each step echoing the heartbeat of a promise made not just to themselves, but to those they loved. The shadows loomed, but love would light their way. They walked in silence, the forest encasing them in a cocoon of rustling leaves and whispered secrets. Little Red Riding Hood glanced down at her new companion, who seemed to draw strength from her unwavering resolve. "What is your name?" she inquired, her voice gentle. "I am Pip," the creature replied, a flicker of hope igniting in its eyes. "I used it to explore the woods with my friends, but now I am alone." "Not any more, Pip," she said, squeezing his tiny paw with a reassuring grip. "We will find your friends if there is still a chance. We will bring them back." As they navigated through the labyrinth of trees, the air grew colder, and a heavy mist began to settle around them. It curled up from the ground like a living entity, wrapping itself around their legs. Little Red Riding Hood could feel the weight of the shadows pressing in, but she pushed through, holding on to the flickering light of her love for her grandmother, and now for Pip. After a while, a faint sound broke through the Cylon's soft melodic, yet tinged with an eerie undertone. "Do you hear that?" Pip asked, his ears twitching in excitement and fear. "It sounds like ... singing." "Yes," she whispered, her curiosity piqued. "It's coming from over there." She pointed toward a narrow path that wound between gnarled roots and stones. The singing grew louder, the notes weaving through the trees like a silken thread. As they cautiously approached the source, they stumbled upon a small clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow. At its center stood a figure, cloaked in deep green, its face hidden beneath a veil of shimmering leaves. The figure moved gracefully, spinning and twirling, while the haunting melody flowed from its lips like a river of silver. "What is that?" Pip whispered. "I believe it is the forest nymph, Little Red Riding Hood," answered, her heart racing. "They say she guards the heart of the woods, and her song can heal even the deepest of wounds." But as they watched, the nymph's expression shifted, her eyes darkened, and the singing turned sorrowful. "Oh, the shadows have claimed so many," she lamented, her voice now tinged with despair. "They reach for the light, but only darkness answers." "Can you help us?" Little Red Riding Hood called out, stepping closer. "We seek a way to save my grandmother and Pip's friends. Please, we need your guidance." The nymph's gaze turned to them, piercing and wise. "Bravery dwells within your heart, child," she said softly. "But to confront the shadows, you must first face the truth of your own fears." "What truth?" Pip asked, trembling. "The truth that lies hidden in the shadows of your own heart," the nymph replied, her voice echoing in the clearing. "You must understand that love is not simply a gift. It requires sacrifice. Are you willing to give up that which you hold dear to save your loved ones?" Little Red Riding Hood's breath caught in her throat. The nymph's words resonated deep within her, urging her to confront her fears head-on. She thought of her grandmother, those warm nights filled with laughter and stories. I would give anything to save her, she said resolutely. As if sensing her determination, the nymph extended her hand, revealing a glowing seed nestled between her fingers. This holds the essence of the forest's magic, she said. If you plant it in the heart of the shadows, it may bloom into a light powerful enough to vanquish the darkness. But what will happen to you? Pip asked, concerned etching his tiny features. I am bound to the forest, and my fate is intertwined with its magic, the nymph said, her voice steady yet tinged with sadness. If you are triumphant, I will fade into the stories of the woods, a whisper carried on the wind. Little Red Riding Hood felt a lump rise in her throat. We won't let you fade away, she insisted. We will honor you. Your sacrifice will not be forgotten. With the seed cradled in her hand, she looked to Pip, who nodded fervently. Together, they turned back toward the path leading deeper into the forest, the shadows looming ever closer. We are ready, Little Red Riding Hood proclaimed, her heart set aflame with resolve. Their journey was far from over, and with every step, she could feel the weight of her love pushing back against the encroaching darkness. The night was still young, and the true adventure had only just begun, holding the promise of courage, sacrifice, and the magic of love. As they ventured deeper into the forest, a shroud of mist enveloped them, twisting around the gnarled branches like ghostly fingers. The moonlight filtered through the foliage, casting silvery patterns upon the ground, illuminating their way but also revealing the lurking shadows that danced just beyond the trees. Little Red Riding Hood tightened her grip on the seed, its warmth a gentle reminder of the nymph's faith in them. Do you think the wolf is still here? Pip whispered, his voice barely above a breath, his small figure trembling in the darkness. We must be brave, Little Red Riding Hood replied, her heart swelling with a newfound courage. For every shadow that lurks, there is a light waiting to break through. Just as she spoke, a low growl rumbled through the underbrush, sending a shiver down Pip's spine. The sound echoed ominously, reverberating against the trees, causing their branches to shudder. Little Red Riding Hood stopped her, heart racing as the shadows shifted, coalescing into a pair of golden eyes. From the darkened woods stepped the wolf, his fur bristling and his gaze fixed firmly on them. Ah, the little girl and her tiny friend, he said, his voice smooth as silk, yet dripping with malice. What brings you to my domain? Surely, you know that the shadows belong to me. We seek to save my grandmother, Little Red Riding Hood declared, summoning every ounce of bravery she possessed, and to banish the darkness that you've spread across this forest. The wolf's laughter echoed through the trees, a sound more chilling than the wind itself. Save your breath, child. You cannot fight what you do not understand. The shadows are but a reflection of your own fears, and you, dear one, are laden with doubts. Little Red Riding Hood's heart quivered at his words, but she remembered the nymph's guidance. More than my fears, she replied, her voice firm despite the uncertainties swirling within her. I am the love I carry for my family, and I will not back down. The wolf's expression shifted, curiosity mingling with menace. Then prove it, he challa, stepping closer, his presence looming like a storm cloud. Face your fear. Show me the strength of your love by planting that seed in the heart of the shadows. Little Red Riding Hood's pulse quickened, the weight of his challenge settling around her like a heavy cloak. How can I do that when you are here? She countered, finding her voice. Among the chaos of her thoughts, the wolf tilted his head, intrigued. Fear not, little girl. I shall grant you a moment, a chance to prove yourself. But be warned, the shadows will come alive as soon as you step into their depths, and with that, he faded into the darkness, his laughter lingering, like a cruel echo. Now what? Pip squeaked, looking up at her with wide eyes. We have to move forward, Little Red Riding Hood said, her determination We must plant the seed where the darkness is thickest. If we are to conquer the shadows, we must be willing to embrace them. Hand in hand, they made their way to the heart of the forest, where the trees twisted into grotesque shapes, their branches curling like claws. The air grew thick with an eerie silence, as if the forest itself was holding its breath in anticipation. At the center of this darkened place lay a clearing void of light, consumed by the shadows that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Little Red Riding Hood stepped forward, Pip trailing closely behind, his heart pounding in sync with hers. As she knelt in the soft earth, she could feel the weight of the seed in her palm, radiating warmth like a heartbeat against her skin. "This is it," she murmured, her voice steady despite the looming darkness. "This is where we begin to change everything." With a deep breath, she planted the seed into the ground, her fingers brushing against the cool earth. A tremor rippled through the clearing, and the shadows recoiled, as if sensing the magic that was about to unfurl. "Come what may," she whispered, a prayer woven into her resolve. Suddenly, the ground beneath her began to tremble, the shadows swirling violently, as though awakening from a long slumber. The whispers of lost souls echoed around them, and from within the dark, a flicker of light began to grow, illuminating the clearing with a soft, ethereal glow. But with that glow came a powerful surge of energy that sent a shudder through Pip and Little Red Riding Hood, as from the depths of the shadows emerged figures, twisted apparitions of their deepest fears. "Stand firm," Little Red Riding Hood urged, her voice rising above the chaos. "We face them together." And so, hand in hand, they stood against the encroaching darkness, the seed pulsing with light, the promise of love and bravery crackling in the air around them. It was moments that would define their destinies. A moment where shadows would clash with light, and the outcome remained a mystery yet to be revealed. As the light from the seed grew stronger, the shadows melted back momentarily, revealing faint outlines of the figures that had emerged from the depths of their fears. They were phantoms of doubt and despair, twisted forms that carried the weight of past disappointments and the haunting specters of what might never be. Among them stood a shadowy version of Little Red Riding Hood herself, her eyes dark, filled with an ache that echoed the essence of loneliness. "Do not falter," Pip shouted, his voice trembling yet fierce. "They are but illusions, figments of the darkness that cannot truly harm us." Little Red Riding Hood felt the resolve within her strengthen, as if the seed in the ground was pulling from her heart, merging hope with courage. "You are not me," she cried to the shadow of herself. "You do not define who I am or what I can become. I am more than my fears. I am the love I carry, and I will not let you consume me." The shadowy figure flickered in the light, faltering as if uncertain. With each word, Little Red Riding Hood's heart surged, and the warmth from the seed intensified, forming waves of golden light that rippled through the clearing, pushing back the dark. Yet, from behind the shadow of herself, another figure emerged, taller and more menacing, its eyes like coals of despair. It bore a crown of thorns and resembled the very embodiment of loss. "You seek to change fate, little one," it boomed, its voice like rolling thunder. "You cannot escape your lineage. Your blood is tainted with failures and regrets." Little Red Riding Hood's breath caught in her throat, the weight of the words striking like a hammer to glass. "That is not true," she replied, her voice trembling yet unwavering. "My heart is pure, and I choose to pave my own path. I choose love, I choose hope." Pip squeezed her hand tighter, feeling the tremors of doubt beneath the surface of her resolve. "Together," he shouted in unison, his small yet mighty voice ringing like a bell in the silence. "We are not alone. Here, in this moment, we are joined by every soul that has loved and fought through fear. We are stronger than the shadows." The figures flickered again, losing their form with each assertion of strength from the two. "Yang, hero." The shadows tried to encroach upon them, but the light grew fiercer, crackling with energy as it pulsed through the soil and into the hearts of the companions. In that moment, the clearing around them transformed. The trees that had once loomed ominously now started to shimmer with life, their trunks regaining color, their leaves unfurling to embrace the dawn. Delicate blooms erupted from the ground where the seed had been planted, vibrant and full of life, lighting up the dark with hues of gold and violet. "Look!" Pip exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder. "It's working!" "Ah!" A gust of wind swept through the clearing, carrying away the remaining shadows, scattering them like leaves. The air felt lighter, charged with the promise of renewal and possibility. Little Red Riding Hood felt a warmth blossom in her chest as the final traces of her fears faded into oblivion. Yet, even in that moment of triumph, a shiver of uncertainty lingered. The powerful figure still loomed at the edge, watching with a chilling intensity, its presence a reminder that the battle was not yet won. "We've taken the first step," Little Red Riding Hood whispered, her voice steadier now. "But the journey is still ahead of us. We must be ready for whatever comes next." Pip nodded, determination etched on his face. "Together, we can face anything." With their spirits lifted, they took a step forward, the path ahead bathed in the soft glow of hope and budding flowers. As they ventured deeper into the heart of the forest, they felt the strength of their bond, knowing that the real magic lay not in the light alone, but in the love that fueled their bravery. Little Red Riding Hood glanced back one last time, catching a glimpse of the receding shadows, their forms now dissipating into nothingness. "This is only the beginning," she murmured, her heart thrumming with resolve. "We will uncover the truth of this forest and break the curse that binds it," and with that, they pressed on, two brave souls intertwined in a tapestry of light and darkness, ready to rewrite their destinies. As they ventured further into the heart of the forest, the sunlight filtered through the leaves, painting the ground with a mosaic of light and shadow. Little Red Riding Hood felt a gentle breeze caress her cheek, as if the very spirit of the forest was guiding them along the winding path. Pip walked beside her, his small hand gripping hers tightly, providing an anchor of courage amidst the uncertainties that lingered in the air. In the distance, the sound of a bubbling brook reached their ears, a melodic invitation that beckoned them closer. "What if it's a trap?" Pip's voice trembled slightly, his youthful imagination conjuring images of lurking dangers in every shadow. "Then we will face it together," Little Red Riding Hood reassured, her spirit unwavering. "Remember, fear cannot hold power over us when we are united." As they approached the brook, they noticed that its water sparkled like diamonds under the sun. The gentle murmur of the stream seemed to carry whispers of ancient tales and secrets untold. Drawn by the allure of the water, they knelt at the bank, where the cool liquid danced over smooth pebbles. Little Red Riding Hood cupped her hands and splashed some on her face. Invigorated by the freshness, she looked at Pip, his eyes alight with wonder. "Do you think it knows?" Pip asked, nodding toward the brook. "Maybe it knows how to break the curse." Little Red Riding Hood pondered the thought, the weight of the forest's mystery pressing upon them. "Perhaps it does. Water has a way of cleansing, of revealing what is hidden." As if in response to her words, the brook shimmered more intensely, and from its depths, a figure began to emerge. A slender, ethereal shape took form, shimmering with a luminescent glow. The figure solidified, revealing a beautiful maiden, draped in flowing garments that sparkled like the surface of the water itself. Her hair cascaded around her shoulders like liquid silver, and her eyes were pools of deep blue, reflecting wisdom that seemed to stretch across ages. "Fear not, brave travelers," the maiden spoke, her voice melodious and soothing, like the song of the brook itself. "I am Naira, the keeper of the waters. It is I who can guide you to uncover the truth of this forest and the darkness that lies within." Little Red Riding Hood and Pip exchanged wide-eyed glances, the weight of Naira's presence filling them with awe. "We seek to break the curse that binds this forest," Little Red Riding Hood declared, her voice steady despite the fluttering excitement in her chest. "Can you help us?" Naira's expression softened, a hint of sorrow clouding her eyes. "The darkness that haunts this land is ancient, born from the hearts of those consumed by greed and despair. It has taken hold of the forest, twisting its spirit and ensnaring its creatures. To break the curse, you must venture to the heart of the forest, where the elder tree stands. Only there can the true magic of the forest be awakened." "What dangers await us?" Pip asked, his voice barely a whisper. "The path is fraught with challenges," Naira warned, her gaze piercing yet gentle. "You will encounter the shadows of regret, manifestations of the fears and failures that linger within you. They will seek to divert you from your quest, to make you doubt your strength and your bond. Little Red Riding Hood felt a knot form in her stomach, but she squared her shoulders, leaning closer to Pip. "We can conquer our regrets together," she said firmly. "We've already taken the first step toward change." Niera smiled, the light around her brightening. "Then let your journey begin. Follow the brook until its flow leads you to the elder tree. Trust in your hearts and the love that binds you." With a gesture, the maiden waved her hands over the water, and the brook shimmered with renewed intensity, forming a path of luminescent stones that glowed like stars. "This path will lead you true," Naira advised. "But remember, the shadows will test you. Do not falter." Little Red Riding Hood and Pip nodded, filled with determination. They turned to follow the glowing stones, their hearts pounding with excitement and trepidation. As the brook wound deeper into the forest, its song echoed behind them, a constant reminder that they were not alone. With every step, they felt the weight of their task breaking a curse, facing their shadows, yet, in the depths of their hearts, a flicker of hope ignited. Together, they would embark on an adventure that would not only change the fate of the forest, but also illuminate the pathways of their own souls. And thus, with spirits lifted, they followed the brook, taking their first steps toward an unknown destiny, their footsteps harmonizing with the melody of the enchanted forest. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the towering trees whispered secrets of ages past, their leaves fluttering like pages of an ancient tome. A persistent mist shrouded the ground, wrapping Little Red Riding Hood and Pip in a cool embrace. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and blooming wildflowers, each inhalation a reminder of the beauty that still thrived within the cursed woods. After a while, the brook meandered into a clearing bathed in soft sunlight, where the playful shimmer of the water danced over smooth stones. Here, the two friends paused, their hearts still pounding from the thrill of their journey. The vibrant colors of the flowers surrounding them momentarily distracted them from their mission, filling them with a sense of wonder. "I've never seen such hues," Pip exclaimed, kneeling to examine a cluster of bluebells that seemed to sway in rhythm with an unseen breeze. "It's like they're alive. It's the magic of the forest," Little Red Riding Hood replied, her eyes wide with curiosity. "But we mustn't linger too long. The elder tree awaits us." She felt a twinge of urgency, knowing that every moment spent idling could bring them closer to the shadows that Naira had warned them about. With renewed resolve, they plunged back into the path outlined by the glowing stones. As they continued along the brook, the laughter of the water grew faint, replaced by an eerie silence that pressed against them like a heavy cloak. Dark tendrils of mist coiled around the trees, stretching out like grasping fingers. Suddenly, a rustle among the underbrush sent a shiver down Little Red Riding Hood's spine. She turned, her heart racing. Out of the shadows stepped a figure cloaked in darkness, its form shifting and flickering like a candle's flame. "Why do you tread here, little ones?" it crooned, its voice a low whisper that echoed against the otherwise still forest. Little Red Riding Hood straightened, clutching Pip's hand tightly. "We seek the elder tree to break the curse upon this forest," she declared, her voice firm. Despite the tremor of fear beneath, the shadow flared, revealing hollow eyes that glinted with malice. "The elder tree holds the key to your desires, but it also guards your deepest regrets. Do you dare confront them?" Pip's fingers twitched in anxiety, but Little Red Riding Hood squeezed his hand, emboldening him. "We will face whatever we must," she replied, her voice steady. "We do not fear the past. Together, we can overcome it." The figure's laughter rang out like distant thunder. "Ah, sweet youth. It is one thing to speak of courage, and quite another to endure the weight of your truth." With a flick of its wrist, the shadow conjured swirling images that danced in the air before them. Suddenly, the scene shifted, revealing memories of their past, moments of doubt, times when they had faltered, and choices made in haste. Little Red Riding Hood saw herself, a little girl feeling small and alone, lost in the vastness of the world. She watched, breathless, as Pip's own shadows emerged, moments when he'd felt inadequate, when he had shied away from challenges. "No!" Pip shouted, stepping forward, trying to shield Little Red Riding Hood from the onslaught of painful recollections. "These aren't who we are." But the shadow simply smiled, eyes glimmering with dark delight. Every shadow has roots in truth, dear children. Can you truly cast them away, or must you carry them as part of your story? Little Red Riding Hood felt the weight of the memories pressing down on her, but she knew deep within her heart that those moments had shaped her. Gathering her strength, she spoke aloud. We are not defined by our regrets, nor by our fears. We are defined by our choices, by our willingness to rise above them. The shadow flickered, its form wavering as if uncertain. Then, show me the light within you, it hissed, and with that challenge, the air around them grew colder, the darkness deepening. Together, Pip whispered, his voice steadying, we can illuminate even the darkest corners. Hand in hand, they stepped forward, their hearts alight with the glow of hope. They began to chant softly, words that resonated with the warmth of their bond, each syllable an affirmation of their courage. The forest responded, the trees shifting as if to listen, the shadows swirling around them, hesitant yet intrigued. As the darkness began to recede, Little Red Riding Hood and Pip felt the shadows attempting to claw back, but their voices rose in harmony, binding them together in a powerful display of friendship and resolve. They were not alone. They had each other, and together they would confront whatever lay ahead. With each passing moment, Little Red Riding Hood felt her heart swell with newfound strength, her doubts flickering like embers in a fire. They were on the brink of something extraordinary, where fear would do battle with the light of their determination. Unbeknownst to them, the heart of the forest pulsed with anticipation, waiting for the moment when they would finally lay claim to their true essence and awaken the magic of the elder tree. And so, with their spirits entwined, they pressed forward into the depths of the woods, ready to face the shadows head-on, with love as their guiding star. The shadows whirled around them, twisting and turning, like a dark dance, but Little Red Riding Hood and Pip stood firm, their voices ringing out with fervor. The air crackled with enchantment as their chant filled the forest, weaving through gnarled branches and creeping vines, reaching for the very heart of the ancient woods. The ground beneath them pulsed, responding to their resolve, as if the forest itself recognized the enormity of their endeavor. Fear not the darkness, they sang, for we are the light. Each repetition of their mantra echoed, bouncing off the trees and merging with the whispers of the wind. Slowly, the shadows began to retreat, drawn away from the warmth of their unity. But just as hope began to blossom, the sinister voice of the shadow lurked behind them, a menacing chuckle reverberating through the underbrush. You think you can banish me so easily? It taunted, the air thickening with dread. I am woven into the very fabric of this land. I am the doubt that creeps into your heart, the fear that binds your feet. You cannot escape me, my little light-bearers. Feeling a chill run down her spine, Little Red Riding Hood turned to face the shadow, her heart racing. We do not fear you, she declared, her voice stronger than before, for even the darkest nights yield to dawn. With newfound conviction, Pip tightened his grip on her hand, the warmth between them a shield against the encroaching darkness. We embrace the light we carry, he added, the love we have for each other and for those who await our return. In that moment, a flicker of silver light sparked from the elder tree, illuminating the space around them with a soft, ethereal glow. The tree's branches swayed gently, as if caressed by an unseen breeze, whispering ancient truths. They had awakened the heart of the forest, and it responded to their plea, infusing them with magic that surged through their veins. Draw upon me, the elder tree whispered, its voice a harmony of countless others, for I am the essence of courage and compassion. Remember, young ones, the deepest shadows can only be dispelled by the brightest lights. With the elder tree's blessing coursing through them, Little Red Riding Hood and Pip turned their focus inward. They began to visualize their fears, transforming them into radiant orbs of light, each one representing a doubt or worry they had carried. With every chant, they released these orbs into the air, where they floated and shimmered like stars, scattering the darkness further from their path. As the shadows recoiled, Little Red Riding Hood noticed a flicker of movement amidst the trees. Curious and drawn, she stepped forward, Pip at her side. A figure emerged, bathed in the soft radiance of the now dispersed darkness. A small rabbit, its fur the color of moonlight and its eyes gleaming with wisdom. "Thank you," the rabbit spoke, its voice melodic and soothing. "You have done something remarkable. My kin and I were trapped in the shadow's grasp, but your light has freed us. The forest is grateful for your bravery." Little Red Riding Hood knelt down beside the rabbit, her heart swelling with tenderness. "We are just beginning," she replied gently. "There is much darkness still to confront." The rabbit nodded sagely. "Then, let me guide you. There lies a path deep within the woods, where the shadows weave their strongest magic. Many have lost their way there, but with the light you carry, you can help them find their way back." Pip looked to Little Red Riding Hood, his excitement palpable. "Shall we?" With a resolute nod, she answered, "Yes, we must go. The light we carry is not just for us. It is meant to shine for all." Together, with the rabbit leading the way, they ventured deeper into the forest, the air rich with the scent of pine and damp earth. Each step felt lighter, their hearts buoyed by purpose and friendship. They were embarking on an adventure that promised not only to challenge the shadows lurking within the woods, but also to illuminate the path forward for those who had lost their way. As they pressed on, the whispers of the forest grew louder, sharing tales of courage and redemption. Each tree seemed to lean closer, eager to listen, eager to help, their branches forming a canopy that danced above them. Little Red Riding Hood and Pip shared hopeful smiles, their bond strengthening with every stride. They understood that their journey was just beginning, and the magic of the elder tree would guide them through the labyrinth of shadows that lay ahead. And so they walked, hearts alight with love and courage, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in the enchanted depths of the woods, determined to shine their light and guide others back home. As they traversed the winding path, the world around them transformed. The shadows thickened, casting peculiar shapes upon the ground, while the rustling leaves whispered ancient secrets that only the bravest dared to unlock. Little Red Riding Hood felt a familiar tremor of apprehension in her chest, but it was tempered by the rabbit's calming presence at her side. "Keep your light steady," the rabbit advised, its eyes gleaming like polished stones. "The darker the path, the brighter you must shine. Let it guide your heart, for it knows the way." With newfound resolve, Little Red Riding Hood clutched her lantern, its glow pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Pip, ever the intrepid companion, hopped alongside her, his small frame unwavering in the face of encroaching darkness. Together, they ventured deeper, the air growing cooler and carrying the scent of damp moss and wildflowers, a stark contrast to the unfolding shadows. Suddenly, a sound broke through the tranquil ambiance, a low growl, echoing through the trees, sending a shiver down Little Red Riding Hood's spine. She exchanged a glance with Pip, who seemed equally startled. The rabbit held its ground, ears perked up, listening intently. "Beware, dear friends," it cautioned softly. "In the heart of the forest, the shadows take form. They are not merely the absence of light, but creatures born from fear and despair." Just as it spoke, a figure emerged from behind a twisted oak, a large wolf, its fur as dark as the night sky, eyes glistening with an unsettling hunger. Little Red Riding Hood's heart raced, but she remembered the rabbit's words. This was a creature of shadows, but it was also a creature that could be reasoned with. "Hello, Great Wolf," she called out, trying to keep her voice steady. "We mean no harm. We are here to bring light and help those who have lost their way." The wolf tilted its head, intrigued but guarded. "And what makes you think you can illuminate the darkness? Many have tried, yet all have succumbed to the shadows." Pip, emboldened by Little Red Riding Hood's courage, stepped forward. "We have the light of hope within us. It shines for those who are lost, and it will shine for you too if you let it." The wolf narrowed its eyes, studying them with a mix of skepticism and a flicker of something softer, something buried deep. "Hope, you say? It has been a long time since I felt its warmth. Tell me, little girl, what do you desire most?" Little Red Riding Hood took a deep breath, summoning her courage. I wish to find those who suffer in darkness and help them see the light again. I believe that even the shadows can be transformed. The wolf's growl softened, replaced by an almost wistful sigh. Once, I, too, sought the light. I was not always a creature of the dark. There was a time when I knew love and kinship, but the shadows consumed my heart and turned me into what you see now. Then you can come back, Pip exclaimed, eyes wide with excitement. You don't have to stay trapped in the darkness. Join us on our journey. Together we can find the light again. For a moment, silence enveloped them, thick as the fog that hung low in the forest. The wolf's fierce exterior began to waver, revealing a flicker of longing. Could it be so simple? To step away from the shadows? Nothing is simple, Little Red Riding Hood replied gently, her voice steady. But with friends by your side, even the darkest paths can lead to brighter days. The wolf looked down, considering her words. The shadows around it seemed to tremble, as if sensing a shift in the atmosphere. Perhaps I am willing to try, it murmured, uncertainty, laced with hope, to reclaim what was lost. With a nod, Little Red Riding Hood extended her free hand, inviting the wolf closer. Then, come with us. We will face the shadows together. The wolf stepped hesitantly forward, the dark tendrils that once clung to its form loosening, drawn towards the warm glow of hope that radiated from Little Red Riding Hood's lantern. They stood all together now through unlikely companions bound by a shared purpose, ready to face whatever darkness awaited them in the depths of the enchanted woods. As they walked on, the very air around them began to shimmer with possibility. The shadows quivered, and whispers of long-lost stories spiraled around them, promising that even the most forlorn could find a way home. The forest felt alive, its pulse matching the quickened beats of their hearts. Each step they took was accompanied by the soft crunch of twigs underfoot and the gentle rustle of leaves above. The night sky, painted in deep indigos and scattered with shimmering stars, seemed to smile down upon their small band of misfits. As they journeyed deeper into the woods, the atmosphere shifted. The winding path that had been their guide began to narrow, hemmed in by dark, towering trees that whispered secrets to one another in the cool night air. It was here that Little Red Riding Hood felt the weight of her mission settle on her shoulders, a comforting burden that stoked the fires of her determination. Tell me more about your past, she urged the wolf gently, glancing up at him. What made you turn to the shadows? The wolf hesitated, the shadows around him swirling as he pondered the question. Long ago, I roamed these woods, not as a creature of fear, but as a guardian of the forest, he began, his voice low and rich with nostalgia. I protected the weak, upheld the balance of life, and shared in the joys of the creatures who called this place home. But one fateful night, during a terrible storm, I lost my way, and in my despair, I fell into the darkness. I lost everything, my kin, my purpose. Pip, who had been quietly listening, piped up, but you're not lost anymore. You found us. His eyes sparkled with a childlike wonder, as if the very thought of companionship could unravel the bleakness that had wrapped around the wolf's heart. You may be right, little one, the wolf confessed, his posture softening, as if the shadows had begun to retreat. But what if the darkness within me is too strong to overcome? What if I am doomed to bring sorrow rather than joy? Little Red Riding Hood stopped, planting her hands on her hips. Even the strongest shadows can be illuminated by just a single light. You have to believe that you can be more than your past. A flicker of a smile danced across the wolf's lips, and for a moment his eyes sparkled not with malice, but with the warmth of hope, a spark that had lain dormant for far too long. Together, then, he said, his voice a blend of resolve and uncertainty, let us find this light. With renewed vigor, they continued their trek until they stumbled upon a clearing, bathed in moonlight. In the center stood an ancient tree, its gnarled branches reaching skyward like beseeching hands. The trunk was wide and twisted, with a large, ornate keyhole glinting faintly in the silver glow. What is this place? Whispered Pip, barely able to contain his excitement. This is the Heartwood, said Little Red Riding Hood, her eyes wide as she recognized the legendary tree from her grandmother's tales. It is said that those who unlock its Secrets can bring healing to the forest and to themselves. But how do we unlock it? The wolf asked, stepping closer, his presence somehow less foreboding under the tranquil moonlight. Little Red Riding Hood approached the tree, tracing her fingers over the keyhole's intricate designs. We must offer something of ourselves, she said, her brow furrowed in thought. A sacrifice for the sake of healing. Something that represents our burdens, our shadows. Pip tugged at her cloak, his voice a mere whisper. What will you give, Red? My cloak, perhaps, she pondered aloud. It has protected me, but it has also shielded me from the harsh truths of this world, and I shall offer my howl, the wolf declared, his voice gaining strength. For too long, I have used it to instill fear. Now, I will use it to call for help. With hearts racing, they stood before the heartwood. Together, they whispered their offerings into the cool night air, the words curling like tendrils of smoke towards the keyhole. The forest fell silent, waiting. A tremor ran through the ground, and the air shimmered with an electric anticipation. The keyhole glowed brighter, illuminating the shadows that had loomed over them. They exchanged glances, a shared understanding passing between them. This moment was pivotal, a turning point that could guide them from darkness into light. As they held their breath, waiting for what would come next, the branches of the heartwood began to sway, and the moonlight shaped itself into ethereal forms, swirling around them like a gentle breeze. It was a sign that the ancient magic of the forest was stirring, responding to their brave offerings, and perhaps, just perhaps, they were not alone in their journey after all. As the last echoes of whispered offerings faded away, the heartwood creaked, its bark shifting with life that pulsed beneath the surface. Each tremor resonated through the ground, and Little Red Riding Hood felt a warmth spreading from her heart to her fingertips, as if the tree recognized their intentions. The canopy above shimmered with an enchanting light, casting playful shadows upon the forest floor. Suddenly, a soft voice wove its way through the air, melodic and ancient. Who seeks to heal this land and themselves? The voice danced around them like a wind chime, gentle yet firm, enveloping them in a cocoon of magic. It is it, Bedtime. Little Red Riding Hood, she replied, her voice steady despite the fluttering in her chest. And I have come to seek the truth of my burdens. And I, the wolf, he added, his tone a mix of reverence and newfound strength. I wish to transform my howl into a call for unity. There was a moment of stillness, a sacred pause, before the heartwood responded. To heal is to embrace what lies within. What do you desire most? Brave souls. Little Red Riding Hood exchanged a glance with Pip. I desire to understand my fears, she whispered, her breath a delicate wisp in the cool night air. I want to learn how to protect my heart while also remaining open to love. The wolf stepped forward, emboldened by her words. And I wish to find my place in this world, to no longer be an outcast, but a guardian of the forest. A soft sigh of recognition escaped the heartwood, and the ground began to rumble beneath their feet. To seek understanding is to embark on a journey steeped in courage. You must face the shadows that linger within. The light from the tree brightened, forging a path that twisted deeper into the woods, illuminating a trail brimming with ethereal blossoms and vibrant fireflies that flickered like stars. Follow the path, the heartwood instructed gently. Each step will unveil a part of your truth, and at the end, you shall find what you seek. Little Red Riding Hood felt a flutter of fear, but also excitement surge within her. We will, she vowed, taking a step forward, her heart pounding in synchrony with the rhythm of the forest. The wolf followed closely behind her, his presence now a reassuring shadow rather than a menacing threat. Pip, filled with determination, hopped alongside, his small frame aglow with a newfound sense of purpose. Together, he chirped, we will weave our fates into the story of this forest. As they ventured deeper, the air thickened with magic. The trees whispered secrets to one another, their leaves shimmering with each shared tale. Great owls perched high above, their eyes wide with wisdom, while mischievous sprites flitted about, beckoning them to play and join in their frolics. The very essence of the forest awakened around them, embracing their resolve. After what felt like an eternity of weaving through the trees, they stumbled into a clearing bathed in soft moonlight. In the center stood an ancient stone well, its surface glistening like a mirror. The air hummed with energy, and the whispers of the forest grew louder, urging them closer. "What is this place?" Pip asked, his curiosity piquing as he peered into the depths of the well. "It is the Well of Reflections," Little Red Riding Hood answered, recalling her grandmother's stories. "A place where one's true self is revealed. We must look into it and confront what we see." The wolf hesitated, gnawing at the sincerity of his fears. "What if I do not like what I see?" "Then we will face it together," Red reassured him, her hand reaching out to squeeze his paw. "This journey is about understanding and acceptance, not judgment." With hearts entwined in camaraderie, they approached the well, each one peering into the depths. The water rippled like liquid glass, its surface swirling with images of their past scenes that echoed joy and sorrow alike. Little Red Riding Hood saw herself as a child, lost in the woods, feeling the weight of expectations heavy upon her shoulders. The wolf glimpsed shadows of his earlier days when he felt alone in a pack that did not understand him. Pip saw moments of doubt where he wished to be more than he was, a mere companion in a vast world. "Are you ready?" Red whispered, her voice unwavering. As they nodded affirmatively, the magic of the forest surged forward, intertwining their fates in the waters, reflection ready to reveal the truths they would need to embrace in order to heal, not just themselves, but the land scarred by their fears. And as they looked deeper, the well began to glow, illuminating the path to their inner selves, drawing them into a world where acceptance and courage would become the keys to their transformation. As the glow from the Well of Reflections enveloped them, a gentle warmth spread through the air, a comforting embrace that felt both foreign and familiar. Little Red Riding Hood inhaled deeply, the scent of pine intermingled with something sweet, like blooming jasmine. It was a fragrance that spoke of forgotten dreams and unspoken fears. The surface of the water shimmered brighter, pulling their gazes deeper, and soon they began to feel the weight of their individual truths pressing upon their hearts. "What do we do now?" Pip asked, his voice trembling slightly as the images danced before his eyes, flickers of laughter, mischief, and, at times, sorrow. "What if it shows me something I can't bear?" Red turned to her friend, a knowing smile gracing her lips. "Then we acknowledge it. We accept our fears, Pip. Only then can we truly move forward." With those words, they leaned closer together, their reflections merging into a tapestry of colors and emotions. The enchantment of the well spun their tales into a collective narrative, weaving the essence of their struggles into a single thread of light. Just then, the images began to settle, revealing a vision steeped in significance. In the swirling depths, they saw a village. It was draped in shadows, and the villagers roamed with hollow eyes, burdened by their own insecurities and distrust. Amid the somber scene, a little girl stood alone, clutching a basket filled with bright red apples, her bright smile contrasting starkly with the gloom surrounding her. "What does this mean?" Red whispered, a shiver running through her. "The girl represents hope," the wolf murmured, his keen eyes narrowing as he began to understand. "But look closely. She is overlooked by those in darkness. They failed to see the kindness she bears." Red nodded, the realization dawning on her. "We need to help them see the light within themselves, the joy they've buried under layers of fear." At that moment, the well's water surged in a brilliant wave, casting forth images of the trio standing before the villagers, arms widely open. They could almost hear the laughter, mingling with the rustling leaves, inviting the villagers to step into the light, each face reflecting the beauty of acceptance, not just of oneself, but of one another. Suddenly, the well began to tremble, and the images faded, leaving only the reflection of their determined faces. The wolf's heart raced, for he felt an awakening stirring within him, a sense of purpose that had been absent for far too long. "What if we have to confront the darkness ourselves?" he pondered aloud, his brow furrowed. "Then we do it as one," Red said, her voice steady and resolute. "Together, we can show them the power of friendship, of love, and ultimately, of forgiveness. Our journey doesn't end with us, it begins with us." Pip, emboldened by their resolve, piped up, "Then let's go. We must find the village and guide them back to hope. We can't let fear dominate their hearts any longer." As the moon, high above, casting a silvery glow over the enchanted forest, the trio exchanged glances filled with determination. With newfound courage, they turned away from the well, ready to embark on a journey that would not only challenge their fears, but also empower those around them. In their hearts, a melody began to play, a song of unity that echoed through the trees, intertwining with the whispers of the night, urging them onward. They would face the darkness together, illuminating the path with the light of their friendship. And as they ventured deeper into the woods, the shadows seemed to recede, yielding to the promise of what lay ahead. For within each step they took, the forest responded, rustling with encouragement, as if the very essence of magic rejoiced at their resolve. The wind carried their laughter to the stars, promising that the journey, fraught with complexities and trials, would ultimately lead to a place where joy could blossom once more. As they pressed forward, the weight of their fears began to lift. They were no longer just a girl in a red cloak, a wolf seeking acceptance, and a little bird wishing to belong. They had become something more, a beacon of hope poised to light the way for others, each step echoing the silent promise that kindness, courage, and connection could transform even the darkest of nights into dawn.